Hey, what's up, guys? I did a more in-depth review of Matango, Attack of the Mushroom People, a Toho classic, but it was blocked when I put it up on YouTube, and I had a suspicion that it would be. But the video, I like the video I made, so I'm putting it up somewhere else, another channel that rhymes with Bumble. I'll link to it. I'll see if YT will allow it. Okay? But I figured, undeterred, that I would make another video. Obviously, this Toho classic, horror classic, is from the loosely based on the story "Voice in the Night" by William Hope Hodgson. Obviously, Lovecraft mentioned him in his famous supernatural horror literature, and I read some of his short stories, and I'm currently reading this. Um, I like what I'm reading so far. I also have another book I got a while ago. I thought I would be reading all this stuff quickly, and then life happened. The Nightland. What a cool title. Apparently, this is supposed to be like a dark fantasy. Before World War One, Hodgson was I think he was a young sailor. He was a shorter guy, so he was getting picked on. I hope just picked on physically, and so he built himself up. He actually opened a gymnasium, a physical culture. Okay, back then the gyms you had, it wasn't just people lifting weights. Wrestling was included, weapons, fencing. Those Indian clubs, all kinds of interesting things to make to increase your strength and your fighting prowess. The fact the guy was also a writer and wrote some stuff that was really the stuff I'm reading is very impressive. This is all before the damn war. Speaking of which, the World War, as an American, I call it that. Uh, Hodgson was already in his 40s when the war started, and he was a patriotic British guy. Signed up. Actually, was injured, wounded in battle. Went back. He could have said, "All right, I've had enough of this." Right? He went back, and he was killed in 1918, the last year of the war. That place in Belgium, the Ypres. Very tragic. Very tragic. There's so many things that war destroyed. But I don't want to belabor the point. The guy's work lives on. A very unique writer. Very modern for someone writing essentially at the turn of the century. But I like that last turn of the century writer. So I'll go over some of the short stories without giving them away too much. I'll tell you what I like about him. There's three of them. By the way, this is a very impressive collection of horror stories that I got from Barnes and Noble probably 5 years ago or more. It's hardcover. It's got the bookmark built in. Really cool. I might go over some more of this stuff. And they usually have two stories or from authors that we all James Mackin, Conan Doyle, right? Those are two really good stories. But we're focusing on William Hope Hodgson, okay, the Derelict and the Voice in the Night, the two in this collection. The Derelict. This was, man, what a creepy story about a bunch of sailors. All right, he's using his experience as a sailor. Okay, you talk about the sublime. Right? I'm gonna go into that more later in the month. The idea of the sublime, the rough life of being a sailor on a ship, on the open water. The danger. A storm comes, man. You are not in control. And the creepiness, the things in the water that can eat you. Right? So in this story, a bunch of sailors find a derelict ship floating around, and they board it to see what's going on, just like a lot of horror movies. Okay, and they find that the ship, or should I say, something on the ship, something that has attached itself to the ship, is alive, and like most life forms, it's hungry. Yeah. As an interesting segue, when I read this story, this reminded me of a scene in another Japanese horror film. Now, I'm going over the Hodgson stories because I wasn't able to put the Attack of the Mushroom People, Matango Toho vid on YouTube. But there's another Toho film where this reminds me of a lot. The H-Man. Okay, the scene where the guys go on the derelict ship and they find something on it. This actually reminded me a lot of that. So there was Japanese people reading Hodgson translated into Japanese, I assume. This now, of course, The Voice in the Night. This is what is Matango is based on. This was actually a very understated story. This was a pretty intense story, and the other one I'm gonna go over real quick is also in another collection. The Voice in the Night is pretty. They sort of take the concept of what they figure out at the end of this man who's in the boat. This man shows up asking for supplies, and he doesn't want the men to get too close to him because there's something he alludes to that he has some kind of sickness, and then his wife has it as well. But as he talks more, he talks about the island that they were shipwrecked on. There's this fungus growing everywhere, and running out of food, they start to eat the mushrooms, the fungus. But it's there's something strange about the fungus. Okay. Similar to the previous story, the Derelict, things are alive. Obviously, fungus is alive, but there's something, I would say, almost sinister. But is it sinister, really? That's the whole thing. Even in the previous story, I mentioned the Derelict. There's the thing that is causing the problem is not evil. Okay? It's beyond good and evil. It's these are life forms that are above or rival humanity. You see, this is where Lovecraft starts to come into play. And the end of this, the way this ends, very subtle, almost like a ghost story. But it's interesting that this was the inspiration for the Matango film, which takes it to a whole other crazy level. This is another collection. I lost the slipcover on it, but the William Hope Hodgson story they have in here. Okay, and this is actually a good collection. I'll probably go over this too. Since showing scenes from movies, it's like gambling, okay, with the copyright. Tropical Heart. This is another story done almost as a journal, like most of them are. This is This is a really intense story. Very modern horror. Essentially, a ship at night gets attacked by a life form from the water. Something a little more similar to. Maybe some kind of serpent, fish, crustacean, fang thing, and it's not just a sudden attack. It's actually really riveting because this thing eats the guys left and right, and it's almost like it doesn't go away. Like days go by where the survivors are like trapped in here trying to survive with this thing that is just eating them. Okay. And of course, the horror is, once again, even worse. It's if there was some reason to it, if there was some meaning to it, if it was the devil, right? It would almost have some kind of thing. This thing just wants to eat, like, it's hungry. It's like when I go fishing or something. So, anyway, these three short stories by William Hope Hodgson, very impressive, very diverse, very different from each other. And I think I'm really going to enjoy The House on the Borderland, which I'm reading now.